Hi, welcome back to Warrior Beauty. I'm so glad you're here. My name's Christina, and I wanted to go over a little bit of why Warrior Beauty was started and how this all came to be and what inspired me to do my YouTube channel with you today. Thank you for being here, and if you'd like to continue to come along with me on my journey as a woman over 50 and a stage 4 cancer patient, then please click subscribe and hang on. It's quite a ride. So in 1997, I was 27 years old and the mother of two. I had had my second child, and a mole that I had on my left upper back started to change and get a little bigger and darker and just seem a little strange. And I asked my doctor about it, my primary care doctor, and he wasn't really concerned about it. He was just like, oh, we'll just keep an eye on it. Next time you come in, we'll see how it is and just don't worry. And, I had enough on my plate. I was working and kids. And so, okay, we'll just keep an eye. I mean, you're supposed to trust doctors, right? So I went along my merry way. And over the next year and a half, every time I saw him, which wasn't often, I would say, this mole, it's just kind of, it's bigger, it's scarier. Then I got to about a year and a half out. My sister came to see me and we were getting ready to go somewhere. And I changed in my room and she's like, wow, sis, she had actually a mole very similar, same spot on her back. So she's like, this thing looks really, really scary. It's like green and black and the edges are all crazy. Like something's not right. It was startling to her. So I went back to him again. And this time I insisted, please take this mole off. It's changing rapidly. Back then in 1997, I know melanoma was out there, but I really don't think people knew that much about it. Honestly, people still don't know that much about it. And I can promise you, as long as I have breath in my body, anyone that comes into contact with me will know about melanoma and how dangerous it is. And if that saves even one person's life, or causes them to protect themselves and their family and to embrace their beauty just as they are, then my job is done. And all of the pain and all that I've been through will be worth it. So that's where I'm coming from. So I go back to my doctor. He went ahead and took the mole off. Not really happy with me that I was insisting, but I'm pretty strong-willed, so he had no choice. I came back to get my stitches out, and he wasn't there. He had gone on vacation. And so the person standing in for him took the stitches out, and then he was going to send me on my way. And I told him, I'm not going to leave until I know what the pathology report says. Do you have that back yet? At the time, I was working for a cardiologist myself, so I wasn't stupid as far as what you're supposed to ask. And, I'm not just going to go and not know what happened. Like, what did it come back? I just had a bad feeling. So he left the room and he was gone for quite a while. He said he would need to get the results faxed over from the people that did my pathology. And when he came back in the room, within an instant of looking at his face, I knew my worst fears were reality. He looked at me, and the poor thing, he was just like a stand-in person, not my normal doctor. He looks at me and he asked me if I knew what the word what the word malignant meant. That moment will stick with me forever because, yes, I know what malignant means. And at the time, like I said, I had 2 kids. I'm 27 years old and trying to just, live life and start life with my family and everything at that moment. And so right then and there, my entire life changed. I went back to the doctor that I worked for and asked if he could talk, and sat down and told him what had happened. And he immediately called the John Wayne Cancer Institute in Santa Monica. Because of being a doctor, he knew who to get a hold of. And he said, you will go nowhere else. I had an HMO at the time. He's like, no one's touching you. You're going nowhere except to Santa Monica, because they're the only people that know about melanoma right now. They're on the cutting edge. And if, this can be really, really bad. Like, people don't take skin cancer seriously. They think it's just your skin. It's, this is the cancer that can kill you. And even me at the time, I'm like thinking, well, it's my skin, right? They'll just cut it off. And no, he said, no, we have to find out how serious this is. So he called when my doctor got back into town, He hooked up the whole thing, got me over to John Wayne, and I had a wide excision on my back. I have a pretty huge scar. My husband often likes to call me an angel. And when you see me, when I'm running around, if I'm ever swimming, it kind of looks like somebody, I might have had a wing on that one side and somebody just ripped it off. That's how big my scar is on that side. They did a wide excision there. I want to say I had like 22 stitches on the outside. And then they took the sentinel node from underneath my left arm, did sentinel mapping. And that's where, if the cancer had traveled, it would have been in my lymph node if it was in my lymph nodes. And at the depth it was on my back, I remember them saying they'd be very surprised if it wasn't in the lymph node. At the time, again, I didn't know, like, what does that mean? Does that mean I'm dying? I'm 27 years old. I have 2 kids, or what does that mean? I remember I couldn't stop shaking. It was just a very, very uncertain, scary time for me. So I went ahead and had the surgery and came home, and they said they got it all of it. All the margins were clear. I was so happy. I mean, there was a lot of healing ahead, my whole shoulder, and then honestly, like down this left arm into here, I still don't have all of the feeling. I never will. I can feel myself, touching my skin, and my 50-year-old arms there shaking. But there's still some of the feeling never ever returned because of the nerves kind of underneath my arm. The lymph node was clear, my back was clear, and I was like, hallelujah. But I didn't realize at the time either, I quickly did, but right there in that first moment, how my whole life just changed completely. Like, I was never really one for tanning, like, per se. Like, I wasn't in the tanning beds. I went in tanning beds once in my life when they came out back in the 80s. I went and bought a package, like we all did. And I went in, I want to say I was in high school, either that or it was like the summer right after. I went into the tanning thing and broke out head to toe in a rash. And thank God, because I think if I had been in the tanning beds more, it could have been even worse. Who knows? But I grew up in the country in this little itty bitty town here in California where we were just always outside. We were running around. We didn't have video games. We weren't glued to the TV. I think we had like 3 TV channels, even if we were inside watching TV. So I was just always outside in the sun. It was hot. I was in a tank top or running around in the sprinklers, in my bathing suit or shorts and a tank top. And just being tan was thought to be healthy. I mean, geez, our moms were sitting there laying out like with baby oil on these big like foil thingies that reflected the sun back at them. And I know you know what I'm talking about, some of you out there, like just being tan and that glow, everybody on TV was all tan and sexy and healthy. And that was just, even the little baby copper tone tan was all tan with a little dog like pulling out her little shorts or undies or diaper or whatever that was, showing her little tan line. She was a little healthy baby going on the beach. Yeah, no tan is healthy. Do you hear me? No tan. No tan, unless the Lord gave it to you and that's how you were born. That is the only healthy tan. If you're going in the sun or a tanning bed or anything like that, all that a tan is when it's created that way is damage to your skin and your skin trying to heal and repair itself. So unless the Lord blessed you with a tan, you're not supposed to be tanning. You know what? That's okay, because you're beautiful just as you are. Embrace the skin you're in. Please embrace the skin you're in and protect your baby's skin, because that could save their lives. You don't know. So far, I'm the only person in my family, God willing, that has melanoma. And I hope it stays that way, because I'm horrified for my sister, for my kids. I don't have any yet, but grandkids down the road. That's what I think of with this happening with me. It runs in families. It is hereditary. And I pray that I'm the only one that has to go through all that I've gone through. Seriously, I couldn't handle it if any of my family or my kids, God forbid, ever had to go through this. So back to the skin you're in. I grew up outside, just had normal, yes. Did I lay out before prom and whatever in high school? Yes, I did. It was 1987. But it wasn't constant. I got a lot of sun. Yeah. When I was little, but that was just life. And so I went along and, lived my life after my first diagnosis, but it was different. Like my kids got invited over to birthday parties, and it was weird because, they're outside, everybody's trying to have a good time in the bounce house or whatever. And I'm slathering my kids with sunscreen, and I'm kind of in the house or in the shade. I'm the mom in the shade, like trying to keep covered and stuff. Once in a while, yeah, I'd slather myself with sunscreen and go in the pool or something. But even then, like, I felt like not everybody took it seriously. They're like, you're fine. They got it. They cut it out. It was just skin cancer, Christina. Just get in the pool. Just live your life. Just no, it's not just skin cancer. It's the only skin cancer that it has no rules. It plays by no rules. And all it wants to do is kill you dead. Like, it doesn't mess around. Melanoma doesn't care. So I'm glad at the time that this happened to me that I started taking precautions and covering myself and my children. We did go to the beach still, but we had, the big umbrella thing over us, or, just trying to live life, but cautiously. Let's just put it that way. So years go by. I don't know how many biopsies I've had. None of them had come back melanoma. I'd have a biopsy here, biopsy there. I'd go see the doctor every few months. Then they'd take off anything that was suspicious. I had one squamous cell on my leg, and, nothing much really happened over the years. I just lived my life, and my kids grew up, and everything was going right along until 2015. I just remarried, and a mole, the one on my back was all scary. Like I said, I had a mole on my driving arm change. It was just kind of a light mole that got a tiny, tiny little darker spot in it. But because it was two-toned and I know what to look for, I asked my dermatologist to take it off. Again, the dermatologist at the time was like, well, it doesn't really look like melanoma. It's really kind of light. It's not dark and scary. The edges are pretty normal. And yes, it's two-toned, and I said, please, just take it off. It's okay. Just take it off. So she did, and it was in situ. So again, trust your gut. If anything's changing, and your body and your baby's body is better than anyone in the world. If it's changing, just have it checked. Just ask them to take it off. It's not, So they took it off, and mine was melanoma in situ, which is the earliest form of melanoma. It's not, really deep to the point that you need lymph node mapping, supposedly. They went ahead and they took a big pie slice off of my arm, and it came back that everything was clear. My arm was kind of dented in, but after a while it filled back in, so I was okay. And again, we went along on my merry little way. My husband, literally the next day after I was diagnosed, had all the windows in my car tinted like as dark as he possibly could. Again, we stay out of the sun. I wear long sleeves most of the time. Sunscreen. I know there's probably going to be people on here that sunscreen has chemicals in it. Well, honey, let me tell you, I'd rather put sunscreen on and protect myself from melanoma and the ravages of it than not. If you want to have a problem with the chemicals in sunscreen, that's totally up to you. But I'm here to tell you, protect yourself. Sunscreen, whichever one makes you happy, shade, umbrellas, hats, long sleeves. There's even clothing nowadays with sunscreen in it. So whatever you need to do to protect yourself and your families, do it. The thing about melanoma too is it doesn't discriminate. It doesn't. Some people think that just because, my family is mostly European, we're from like England, Ireland, Scotland. Does it target people with fair skin? Yes, it does. Does it target people with dark skin? Yes, it does. There are people who are every nationality, and from as dark and beautiful as you can be to as light and beautiful as you can be with melanoma. Did you know that Bob Marley died of melanoma? He got it in his toenail or in his foot, whatever, and he refused to have it, taken care of the way that, and they didn't really know back then about it very much. He refused the treatment, and he thought that holistic treatment was going to cure him, and he died. People of color get it in different places. They get it on the palms of their hands. They get it in their nails, and it'll be a primary in their nail or in their toenail, in between their toes, on the bottom of their foot. And it kills them too. It doesn't matter what your skin color is. There's a huge, misconception out there that, oh, that's just a problem for really pale people. No, it's a problem for everyone. And I don't know if it's because the ozone layer is changing or what the deal is, but it affects everyone. Trust me, it kills everyone that it decides to, that it can. And it doesn't care what your nationality is. So here we are, 2015. My in situ is gone. Still, I had been told way back when, if you get 10 years out, you will probably never, ever have to deal with melanoma again. Well, here I was 21 years out, and I'm like, wait a minute, that was in situ. And I haven't been tanning at all. Like, I don't, maybe the sun, because it was my driving arm, still comes through the window a little bit. But so, and do I get my vitamin D, just in case the vitamin D Nazis are out there? Yes, I get my vitamin D. I take it every single day. I take extra vitamin D to make sure I'm all right, and calcium and every other thing too. So fast forward to 2018. I'm feeling pretty good. I had decided to become the healthiest I could ever be. I had a gastric bypass surgery. I lost over 100 pounds and I started feeling great. I was like, this is it. I'm taking my life back. I'm about to be 50. Life is good, new marriage, kids are doing well, everything's great. And, I was working at the time, working full time for a lot of years and doing well in my career. And all of a sudden I'm sitting at work one day and I just felt the urge to cough. I hadn't been sick at all. I felt fine, completely fine. And I coughed up blood, but it wasn't just like a tiny bit of blood, like you're coughing and you've been sick and there's like a little streak. It was like a blood clot and it was bright red. And I thought, wow. And then it kind of hurt. And I was thinking, wow, that was, it was almost like you have bronchitis, kind of a hurt. And then it happened again. I had gotten up to go to the restroom, and kind of compose myself, and it happened again. And I took a picture and sent it to my husband, and he's like, honey, that's like bright red arterial blood. You need to call your doctor right now. Something's not right. I thought, well, okay, geez, what do I have? Bronchitis, pneumonia. This is crazy. I feel fine. And my doctor couldn't find anything. My regular doctor at the time, she did a chest x-ray, clear. She sent me to a pulmonologist who did a CT scan on me, and they could see something in the middle lobe of my right lung, but they weren't sure if it was like something going on with the arteries there, like a little bundle of something or what. And so he had me do a second CT. He still saw it. Had me do a bronchoscopy where they go in and they put in a little saline and they collect those cells and send them away. And then we got the call, my husband and I, to go meet him at his office. And we did. And he sat us down and said, the bronchoscopy came back and the cells that we collected are stage 4 metastatic melanoma. And I remember I didn't cry. I needed to like stand up right then. I did. I stood up and I said, doctor, can you stand up for a second? And he said, yes. Why? What's wrong? Because he was sitting in front of us. And I said, no, nothing. I just wanted to give you a hug because it like makes me emotional now. It's funny because I was like stoic then, but I went and I gave him a hug because I said, it's got to be really hard to tell people things like this. Like I couldn't even imagine being him. Like in that instant, I was like in his shoes, telling somebody that's 49 years old, about to turn 50, a mother of 3, that she has stage 4 cancer. And sorry, I'm gonna get through this video because it's important. But it just, I don't know. And then my husband, my poor husband, I just like in that moment, he was like, are you okay? Are you okay? And I'm okay. I'm fine. And I knew he wasn't okay. That was the one thing too. Like in that moment, it's just, I don't know. I'm not often speechless. If I'm ever quiet around you, you need to be very worried because I'm not often speechless. I'm not often at a loss for words. And in that moment, my heart just fell out of my body. I don't know. I mean, for the doctor and for my husband mostly, though, I wasn't even thinking about myself. I was just like, well, okay, I've been through melanoma all these years and I don't know, it just took me a second to even for it to really hit me, I think. I remember I got up and I like excused myself to the bathroom, but I didn't have to go to the bathroom. I just kind of stood there holding onto the sink, looking in the mirror, like trying to get my like hi like are you in there? Wake up. Hello, like, trying to talk to myself, I guess, just to get myself to focus and I don't know, wrap my head, I guess, around everything. So after that, everything was on super fast forward. The pulmonologist told us that the lobe of my lung had to come out. It was I didn't even know this. On our right side, we have 3 lobes. On our left side, we only have 2. Here I am, 49 years old, had no idea. The right side, the middle lobe, is your smallest one. So when they take that out, you can even in most cases get your full lung capacity back. And I did eventually. But so he's, then telling us, well, I'm going to call this thoracic surgeon and you'll go to the heart hospital here. He's one of the best in town. And, it's right next to your artery. And I wouldn't trust anyone other than this doctor. And I'm thinking, right next to my artery. And I'm just, okay, my father went through triple bypass. Like, if he could do that, I can do this. Like, I can do this, right? So, and I went into surgery quickly. I want to say it was only like within 2 weeks of being diagnosed. And I had the surgery, woke up in the most pain I have ever had in my entire life. And I have had 3 kids. Trust me when I tell you, having lung surgery, having a surgery like that, and you wake up and you've got a chest tube and the whole, I don't know. They kept me on constant pain medication, and it didn't do, I couldn't sit, stand, lay, sleep, talk, breathe without this just horrific pain. And then, I didn't expect that, to be honest with you. I don't know. I've had quite a few surgeries in my life, and yes, you wake up in pain, but that level of pain, like 0 to I can't breathe, I can't, and it wasn't I can't breathe my lung, it was I can't breathe because the pain is just mind-blowing. And, then people wanted to see me, and my husband and I are like, I don't even remember. Like, I remember people being there. Like, I know my sister-in-law came and my sister came and my mother came, and I couldn't tell you what they said to me. I remember them sitting there talking and me trying to focus on and grab any kind of word they were saying, but I was in such a fog and in so much pain that I just never in my life, like I said, I've had 3 kids, and never in my life have I been to where I felt almost like I was in another room in all this pain, watching through a portal, trying to connect with the people in my life. I just kept looking at my husband, and he's thinking, he just was amazing. He kept walking me to the bathroom, helping me clean up. We're like so married now, so married. He's seen way too much. I'm just saying, there's married, and then there's like really married. I always tease him, like we've had really good times, and we've had huge challenges, and I won't get into, besides the cancer, we've had ridiculous challenges in our marriage, in our dating relationship, in the whole 9 yards from day one. But we've gotten through it all by the grace of God. And I always tell him, like, honey, there's like for better, for worse, richer, poorer, sickness, and in health. Like, we do the for worse, and the sick part, we're amazing. We've got like an A+ on that one. So if we could get to the good times and stay there a little bit and not have like so much come against us, like that'd be great. And like, that's kind of how I feel where we are now. It's kind of sad that it took stage 4 cancer for the rest of the world around us to get there, but it has. And that's just a whole second marriage ball of wax I won't even talk to you about. But it's not easy, trust me. But hang in there if you're in that situation too, because if there's love between you and the Lord puts you together, then you're in the right place. That's all I have to say about that. But so I got through my lung surgery and came home. When they took the chest tube out, like, thank God, like the pain got a lot better. That chest tube is the devil, just saying. So came home, got better, did my breathing exercises, and they thought at the time it was just an isolated case of melanoma. They were very, very wrong. I came home, and by, I want to say June, I started having, my nails are done right now, but there was melanoma started showing up in this right ring finger. I was putting my hair up, and I went to, go put my hair up, and I could feel little bumps on my scalp that had never been there before. And I had my husband look, and they were little dark moles raised really high and started growing really fast. I had one of them start here on my chest, same thing, a metastasis. About a month after that, I woke up one morning and was stretching, and I had these hard lumps in my groin and on my hip. And so I started seeing an oncologist. They had originally PET scanned me and I was clear. Great. And then all these things started popping up. I told my my dermatologist about this one on my chest and about the ones on my head. And she right away was in dermatology mode. Just FYI, if you're stage 4 cancer and you start immunotherapy, there's no more cutting on you. I mean, yes, you can have a surgery if you absolutely have to, but there's no more. I mean, gone are the days that you can just go into your dermatologist and they biopsy everything. And trust me when I tell you, that was one of the hardest days of my life. I still have to follow up with the dermatologist, but the first time I went into her and I'm like, there's one here, there's like, 5 on my head, there's this one in my finger, there's this thing on my hip, and she didn't take anything off when I'd been for 21 years, everything, anything that looked a little bit suspicious, it was cut off. And I used to begrudge that, like, oh, another biopsy. It's so uncomfortable. And I have, my back, my arm, my leg, my everywhere, here, there. And it just, the day that she was like, it's systemic now, there's nothing, and they can't biopsy it. Even if they do biopsy it, it's like throwing water on a bush in the middle of a forest fire. Like you put the water out on the bush, but there's a forest fire still raging around you. There's like no point. So the first time that I had to walk out of her office knowing she wasn't taking anything off and that was it, and I have to leave, I cried all the way to my car. I was just like, all those years, 21 years, I kept, another 2 biopsies. Oh gosh, it's annoying. And these stitches, I would give anything. And if you're in that situation and you're going through biopsies, I'm not trying to minimize it. I'm trying to tell you, you're in the trenches. Try to stay ahead of it. Don't ever, ever lapse on going to your dermatologist or have them not take off something that they should, because just because it came back in me and I still went to my dermatologist and just boom, it was in my lung, doesn't mean that that's going to happen to you. That's just what happened to me. Most of the time it does come back and it goes like skin, lymph node, and then into your organs. With me, it just happened to not do that. They think that my original one in 1997, that they didn't get all of it way back then. Probably not, because they didn't know what, all about melanoma like they do now. They were just starting to learn about it. And they think that original one in 1997 put some cells that lay dormant in my body. And then a few months before this started happening to me last year, that my immune system faltered. And that's what sparked the forest fire that I'm dealing with right now. I don't know. My doctor, my oncologist and pulmonologist are leaning to stress. I had a lot of very stressful situations going on in the year to just a few months, especially right before my stage 4 was found or happened. And they think that sometimes, that whole stress is a killer thing is true. So anyway, I got past my lung surgery and then had to, I went down, my dermatologist, she probably shouldn't have, she sent me down to Santa Monica again to have a wide excision here. If I had told my oncologist at the same time, she would have just said, leave the metastasis on your chest and I wouldn't have this scar. The scar actually won't heal. I don't know if you've seen it. I've had a lot of surgeries and a lot of scars, and this is the only one that I think it still has stitches. It's been spitting stitches from August to December. We're now in March, and it still hurts and burns, and it gets raised, and then it goes down, it gets raised, and it goes, something's still going on with this one. But I went down, the surgeon there did the wide excision. He took one off my head and confirmed it was a metastasis. He took the 2 things going on in my groin out and said that they were lymph nodes with melanoma in them. So And then all the surgeries stopped and we just went systemic. I started on Opdivo and I got through, I want to say, 4 infusions. Yeah, 4 infusions of Opdivo. That's on the cutting edge of melanoma treatment right now. I did fine for the most part. I mean, fatigue is a real thing. Chemotherapy does not work on melanoma. Immunotherapy that boosts your immune system up and helps fight the cancer, that's what works on melanoma. So years ago, they gave people chemo when they had melanoma and it didn't do anything except make them sicker and then they died faster. Nowadays, they do the immunotherapy. After 4 doses, I still had progression. All of a sudden, like I told you, it was here and the little ones I could see. And all of a sudden, it was in the bone of my scapula. And then shortly after that, it started going all over my skeleton. I had metastasis all over the place. It went into my liver, into the lymph nodes in my chest and abdomen. I have 2 mets in my brain. Melanoma does break the brain barrier, or it can reach through the brain barrier to get in there and kill the cancer. But I had metastasis, it kept getting worse and worse and worse. Then they switched to Opdivo, Ipi-Nivo, Opdivo, and Yervoy together. And so I took 3 doses of that and I felt okay. Again, more fatigue, really itchy, really itchy. And the nausea and all that was being controlled by medications, for nausea and diarrhea and the itching and all that. But overall, I was still trying to work full time, even though I was falling on my face, tired from the fatigue, the constant fatigue from it, and, not feeling well every day, trying to get myself back from all these surgeries and stuff. And then all of a sudden, boom, I had colitis. I was at work, I couldn't even hold it together. I'm like throwing up in my office trash can and running to the bathroom. And I ended up in the ER and in the hospital for a week. And it took another 3 weeks after that to be anywhere close to okay. More progression to my brain at that point. And then they had tested me early on. I'm BRAF positive, V600E, which is a common BRAF mutation in melanoma. And they went ahead and put me on targeted therapy. So I'm on Tafmec now. That consists of pills that are shipped to me, kept in my fridge. Makes traveling a little hard because and going anywhere hard because you have to take it certain times apart and have to not eat and it has to be refrigerated. So life changing, but it's working. My recent scans, I had to fight the insurance about. And so finally was supposed to get a PET scan in December. Didn't end up actually getting it till we fought, got one in March. And it showed that the lymphs in my chest and abdomen are clearing. The ones in my liver are shrinking. The ones in my brain haven't. They're still there. They haven't shrunk. And they're not stabilized, as far as they're starting to shrink and go away. They're just not spreading, thank God. And then the ones in my bones, some of them are gone. Some of them aren't, but they're a tiny bit smaller. And then I'm taking Xgeva shots too, which that's a once a month shot that helps rebuild the bones that are attacked by melanoma. So that's where I'm at right now. And that's my melanoma story. I know it's a lot, but it changed the way I look at beauty inside and out. Like I know right now my hair is falling out because of my treatment. My skin is just changing because I had to, in the middle of all that too, I went through surgical menopause, basically. Had to have non-melanoma related, but something they found. So melanoma, I had a partial hysterectomy, boom, had to complete hysterectomy, take my ovaries, so get thrown into surgical menopause and more melanoma surgery and all of it in the same time before I turned 50. That's where these pictures come from. This is my 50th birthday. I was so, so happy to turn 50. To even get there was like such a big deal. Like I had these are like better pictures than we had at our wedding, to be honest. And my hubby's very supportive, and he had, helped get this hooked up so that we could celebrate being 50. Not everybody is given the chance to be old. Not everyone is given that honor. And to even make it to 50 was a huge, big deal for me. So That's why I created Warrior Beauty, though, is because of this year of being completely on my face, not wearing makeup, not, doing my hair, just throwing it in a clip and running out the door to my a million doctor's appointments a week or lab appointments or whatever. Um, Beauty took on a whole new thing for me. If I'm even making any kind of sense at all. I've started to see myself a little bit in the mirror when I'm looking back. There for a while, I kept telling my husband, I feel like I'm disappearing. I look in the mirror, I don't recognize the girl. Like my eyes were just like, they weren't me anymore. There was just like this, the life had gone out of my eyes. I was just fighting so hard and so sick, just so sick. But every little milestone and every little time that anything tried to knock me back down and did knock me flat on my butt, I got back up. And every time you stand back up, that's beautiful. I don't care what you look like in the mirror. Every time you reach down and you pull up your bootstraps because you just can't even, that's beautiful. Every time, I don't care if your hair is starting to fall out like me or if you're completely bald, that's beautiful because you're fighting with everything you have for your life and for your family and for your kids and for everything that you are. That is beautiful. And every stage of this, every stage of life, sometimes people don't really put much into women that are aging, they're just kind of forgotten about or whatever. But every woman, from any female, from the time you're born until after you die, there's beauty and grace that leaves a legacy on this world. There is. And I didn't even realize the whole scope of it until all of this happened to me. How inside and out, how strong you are when you don't feel like you're strong, how brave you are when people keep saying, oh, you're so brave, oh, you're so strong. No, I'm not. I'm not. I just don't have any other choice. I'm not always brave and I'm not always strong. In fact, more times than not, I'm none of those things. But you know what I am? I'm not a quitter. And no matter what, I'm a mom and a wife and a sister and a daughter. And I'm not going to just lay down and let this thing take me. And I know there's a lot of other women out there that feel the same. And so we find the strength and we find the bravery to push through the pain and push through the horrific thing that terminal illness or chronic illness, because I refuse to think that this is terminal and going to take me. I'm not going anywhere. Sorry, melanoma. Not happening anytime soon. I don't care how aggressive you are. Only God knows the number of my days. That's what I know. And until then, whether I'm face down again in the hospital or sitting here in front of you guys in a video, I know there's beauty and grace to be had and shared with the world. And as long as I have breath in my body, I'll raise melanoma awareness. So, and this video is almost 40 minutes long. There's a lot more I could say too. But thank you for hanging in there with me. And I promise most of these are going to be fun and just poking fun at, getting older and trying all the things that can help us feel better, whether we're, aging or trying to get through an illness. So that's what Warrior Beauty is all about. And that's why I'm here. So if you'd like to continue on this crazy journey with me, please hit the subscribe button down there, and I'll see you soon.